Hi everyone, Yellow Flannel Alert here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Andrew W.K album, You're Not Alone. Andrew W.K is a New York-based multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, folk hero, and avid partier. And You're Not Alone is his latest full-length LP. Andrew has been at this music thing for a long time, but his first big musical breakthrough came in the early 2000s in the shape of his debut album, I Get Wet. A near-novelty album that took the anthemic sounds of arena rock and took them to just the most sugary and enthusiastic extremes imaginable. A sound that even the most bright and upbeat rock bands of today have not caught up with yet. This album also sported a mix that was so bright and so saturated, like it was difficult to listen to closely for the entirety of the album. It's kind of like staring into the sun. Despite its obvious flaws, I Get Wet is actually, in my opinion, one of the best rock albums of the 2000s. Now, Andrew kept the party going for a few more records, going even more noisy and experimental with The Wolf a few years later, also incorporating some grander pianos, more epic instrumentation, and some interesting instrumental interludes on the following album, Close Calls with Brick Walls. And while both of these albums also had highlights on them, to me, the whole very surface level party thing was wearing a little thin. It was clearly a shtick, but still, Andrew's instrumental and compositional ambitions seemed to get bigger in a way with every record, to the point where a few years later with albums like Cadillac 55 and Gundam Rock, he was literally indulging in ambient music and new age music and rock opera. Now, around this time, Andrew kind of bowed out of music for a little bit, at least as a recording artist. He was helping to run one of the biggest clubs in New York at the time, the Santos Party House, opened in 2008, ended operations in 2016, and with that, I guess Andrew is now making his grand return to music. And what a grand return this album is. This record is a massive musical run, standing at 52 minutes, and the emotions and sentiments of this album are huge as well. This is kind of the Andrew W.K that we've always known and loved, but he's a little more mature and experienced and just filled with sagely advice. I mean, this is still a very kitschy, thunderous arena rock album loaded with roaring guitars and glitzy synthesizers, dramatic drumming, and of course Andrew W.K's very throaty, masculine growls, which he occasionally switches out of here and there for some vocal performances that are a bit more I guess, elegant, more vulnerable. The vibe of this album on the whole is feel-good, it's celebratory, it's triumphant, it's motivational, and to kind of get to the maturity of this album, while this record is still about partying, and the songs mention partying in numerous contexts, partying is no longer literal, it's much more metaphorical this time. The party becomes more of a philosophy than an actuality, and the ethos of which is facing down your fears, overcoming obstacles, always trying, succeeding, not shrinking in the face of a challenge, rolling with life's punches. And the flow of this album, despite how long it is, it's pretty sweet and packed with highlights. One of the opening tracks on here, Music Is Worth Living For, is in true Andrew W.K fashion, with blaring guitars and glistening synths, a huge sing-along chorus, music is worth living for. Andrew's music is sounding more life-affirming than ever, and maybe this is just a personal bias here, but I just personally identify with the song so much. Oh god, if it weren't for music, I'd probably kill myself. I'm not even joking. And I'm not even talking about right now. It would have happened a while ago. The song I Don't Know is an exciting, throttling rock tune about just it being okay that you don't know how everything's going to work out. You don't know exactly what you're doing or where you're going in life. You're going to have moments where you're unsure. The song features driving drums, very forceful but elegant keys. Of course, the mix is super fat, super heavy, super saturated. It's pummeling, it's exciting. This track and so many others on this album as well are incredibly assuring and welcoming and warm. I get the feeling, I get the sensation that Andrew's trying to reach out through this album and help me and help anybody listening to this record. It's literally a 52-minute self-help arena rock opera. In addition to tracks like this, there are several spoken word interludes where Andrew continues to give very much needed advice and perspective. The song Give Up On You is some fantastic lighter anthem shit. It opens up with some very beautiful and powerful vocal and piano and guitar layering. Sounds very epic. Sounds very dramatic. There are moments on this album that to me come off as epic as a Queen or a Meatloaf track, but of course it's executed with Andrew's usual bluntness and brashness. The song Keep Going continues a lot of these same themes. It's pretty much a motivational anthem. Meanwhile, tracks like The Devil's on Your Side kind of analyze the yin and yang of life, the light and darkness of our human existence. In a spoken word piece, Andrew displays the devil and darkness as almost like something to overcome, something to challenge you, something to help you, something to kind of educate you about life. And in the song, he almost displays the devil as almost like being a cheerleader for you. Now this track, along with Break the Curse, has maybe one of the most amazing and gigantic instrumental builds on the entire record. At this point, I think you kind of get the idea of what we're dealing with these songs. Like we're always being motivated, we're always being pushed, we're always being inspired. The instrumentation is always huge. It's always blood pumping. It's always trying to elicit these powerfully triumphant feelings. The song Total Freedom is a nice change of pace on the album, vocally and instrumentally. Oddly enough, the song sounds like what might have come of a collaboration between The Killers and Coldplay, both at their creative peaks in the 2000s. Meanwhile, You're Not Alone is a totally excellent closer, not only instrumentally but philosophically, for an album of this style. It's nice to hear a record that ends pretty much as strongly as it begins. My one major critique of the album is that it is a little one-note instrumentally at points. It is a little one-note emotionally. It's a little bloated at 52 minutes. There are a few tracks in the middle that, to me, while they are more low-key, I could see the change of pace Andrew was trying to bring here. It does create a tiny little lull in the track list. Tracks like Party Mindset and The Party Never Dies, but honestly, these tracks, I don't even really dislike them. They're not even awful songs. It's just that maybe given the versatility Andrew showed on tracks like Give Up On You and Total Freedom, it would have been nicer for him to, I don't know, experiment or take another risk or do something a little different with these two tracks. Outside of that, though, I think this is a really great record. It's a fantastic comeback for Andrew. I think it's a very entertaining rock album, very fun album, and it's rare that you get a record that is just bleeding and oozing with so much just raw positivity and is trying to inspire its listeners to feel the same way. I'm feeling a decent to strong 8 on this record. Transition. Have you given this wonderful, inspiring album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe. And please don't cry. Just leave a thoughtful comment in the comments if you're feeling full of thoughts. Over here next to my head, another video to check out and the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Andrew W.K. Forever.